All right, UFC 272 is in the books. Me and Sam are here right now. Hunter will be joining on hopefully soon. Sam, what were your initial thoughts? How was your weekend? What is everything that's going through your mind?
I mean, first off, baseball is back, baby. Just
Baseball's
in a
back, a lot of NFL news. It's been a crazy week of sports.
yeah. And I mean, from everything I saw, people were like, "Oh, Kobe just was it was a boring fight. He just wrestled him. They should have just stood and fought." I'm like, I mean, Kobe was doing stuff on the ground to him too. It's
Colby
not his fault
dominated.
Masvidal couldn't block anything.
Colby dominated for all but one punch. That was
Yeah.
like it's crazy. Like, how could you say that was boring? He stood him up, he would take him down. He'd stand him up, he'd take him down. He outstruck Masvidal, which that was the entire game for Masvidal. Um, they're not even close in terms of skill, is how I
Yeah.
look at it.
I liked how he said afterwards, he's like, I could have finished it, but I wanted there to be no doubt in it that I was the better fighter. So I made it go to decision. I mean, he probably is going to say that no matter what the decision is, but it looked like he could have finished it in multiple times and just was like, "Nah, I'm just gonna make this guy suffer."
When he had Masvidal against the cage, there's no reason that he didn't finish it, other than the fact that he didn't want to, because he could have just kept laying him on and it would have taken him down, and he would have ended up winning this probably by TKO. Instead, what he does is that he clinches him, and decides he's going to just take him down just to show him that he is so much better than Masvidal. This is exactly what was happening when they were training together many years ago. There's no way there's going to be any question now who was the better of the two roommates. There was still a lot of bad blood, even though it looked like Masvidal was mentally defeated. But then Colby, barely breathing heavily, is still sitting there saying, "Let's keep going. Let's go 5 more rounds." The fact that he was able to say that and looked like he hadn't even gotten into the octagon originally is incredible to show how great his cardio is.
Yeah, I mean that's his greatest strength is his cardio.
And I'll say it wasn't even his greatest performance. Like, that's the craziest part of this. He definitely was fighting emotionally. But Colby took care of business. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. And he did it from start to finish, from Thursday morning, talking at the press conference, all the way through early Sunday morning when he was doing his press conference with the UFC media.
Yep, and his last 3 wins aren't they all against ATT?
Yeah, so his last 3 wins come against either people that are at ATT or were at ATT, with Masvidal, Tyron Woodley, who's now up at Rufus Sport in Milwaukee, and then Robbie Lawler, who I think is still at ATT, but that one I'm not too sure of. Um,
And then
and then
after the
obviously he has
fight,
2 fights in the middle of that with Kamaru, but you could say Kamaru, he's the only person that even really touch him that much. You could say Gilbert Burns fight with him. Maybe Burns won that first round, but after that first round, he was dead too. So Colby's the only real competition to this point that we've seen against Usman. The only question might end up being Kamzat, but that's something for a different day.
yeah, and then afterwards he calls out Dustin Poirier.
The Louisiana swamp trash, more more family attacks. He wants to take down every single member of ATT, and we're going to get into this a little bit later on the show. But we think that the Poirier fight very well could happen.
Yeah, and we think it might be for something that we'll get into later.
Exactly.
Especially, I feel like it just because that Dana was telling Bisbing and Rogan to actually start hinting at it too. I feel like,
Yeah. I mean, it was getting pretty crazy because I rewatched the pay-per-view. But
yeah,
let's go down the rest of the card. So co-main event, RDA beats up on Moicano, who took the fight on short notice. I still do not understand why this was a 5-round fight.
yeah. I mean, props to Moicano for staying in there and making it the 5 rounds. He did not look good afterwards, but he definitely made some fans. I feel like on Saturday night.
So the fans definitely were going to boo it if the doctors would have stopped it after round 3. But I actually really wish either his corner or the doctors would have stopped it. It wasn't in the place for, I believe that was, who was the ref during that fight? It wasn't Mergliata, I don't
Yeah, I
believe.
don't remember.
Um, shoot, I can't think of his name, but it's the big like jacked guy who always winks at the camera. He did a good job by saying like, "Hey, you have 30 seconds. If you don't show me anything in these 30 seconds, I will stop it." But Kanye went out and did show at least that he was still in the fight for those 30 seconds. But the doctor should have been the one to stop that fight.
Yeah.
Pure domination. Like kind of started coming back in round number 5. Very much too little, too late. RDA even did say after the fight that he actually let up going into round 5 because he was actually afraid for his long-term health. So good on RDA, but also it should have never got to that point.
Yeah.
And then other fights on the main card, I think we don't have to go in order, but I think we've seen the last of Greg Hardy, possibly in his UFC career. His contract is up, so we don't even have to worry about him getting cut. I don't think there's gonna be any sign of him getting re-signed.
Yeah. I thought the fight was pretty boring.
It wasn't close.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 minutes and 14 seconds into the first round. So if you
Yeah,
bet under
216.
half a round, you would have cashed that ticket. Spivak, who's about 20 pounds lighter, manhandled him for those 2 minutes and 14 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he was only on the card just because people know him from football.
Yeah.
So
We'll get into the star that was born. Definitely born this weekend. But Kevin Holland, loudmouth, makes his welterweight debut. Didn't look great in the first round, but he did have the comical moment of him faking like he's getting choked out just so he can give thumbs up to his corner. I don't like, what'd you make of that fight?
I mean, Oliveira kind of dominated it, yeah, for that first round. But I mean, I think Holland is right to go at well. I think he's got the right weight class though with welterweight. I think you can see his power in it.
Well, he walks around at 183, so it was never making sense that he was fighting at 185.
Yeah.
So
Literally would have to gain weight to get to the max.
he
So,
was. He said he was actually eating like extra McDonald's just to gain those 2 pounds usually, just so he looked like he was trying to cut weight. But that's something that's going to end up getting talked about a little bit more down the show because when we talk about what we think will happen, it will actually affect him as well.
yeah.
And then a star was absolutely born this weekend on the main card. Bryce Mitchell, Thug Nasty, 30-27, 30-26, 30-25 over Edson Barbosa, who was supposed to be his biggest test coming into the UFC. He moves up to number 9 in the rankings. It was pure domination, obviously, with 2 10-8 rounds. He could not have had a better performance.
Yeah, he had a great performance. I got to give it to him. I did not think coming into it, what was he off for 2 years, that he'd put up a performance like that. He just dominated Barbosa on the ground.
Rumor with that now is he's probably going to get Josh Emmett, and the UFC is actually going to try to make that for end of summer, early fall, and they are going to have that be a main event fight night in the state of Arkansas. So you can only imagine how crazy Little Rock is going to be going in an arena that I believe holds 19,000-ish. Bryce Mitchell made himself a star. If you even have just paid attention a little bit this past week, he's been on Tucker Carlson. He made a very big noise politically after the fight. He made noise earlier last week on Ariel Helwani's MMA Hour. He's very outspoken, knows what he's actually talking about for as bad of grammar as he has at times, but he is making a brand for himself almost the exact opposite way of Colby Covington, whereas Colby really attached to Trump and supported Trump. However, if I think I had to like ask for political opinions, I'd go to Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy when you have both a combination of UFC fighters and porn stars tweeting Bryce Mitchell for president. So crazy on that. Prelims and early prelims. Any fights that you want to talk about?
I mean, I thought the best fight of that was probably Nurmagomedov versus Senjukwa, or I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I mean, those were two last names that I looked at, and I was like, okay.
I thought it was a great fight. I mean, just looking at it, it's 29-27, 27-29, 29-27.
We did have a point deduction in that fight, right?
Yeah. I think there was an eye poke.
Yeah. And I think it was a pretty bad one too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it was Zenjukwa had a pretty bad eye poke in that first round.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fun fight. I really liked the fight minus the eye pokes. The eye pokes were a real issue in this fight. I think it actually took away from the performance from both guys. But I want to talk about Marina Rodriguez, and I can never say I struggle with like the Asian names.
Shoutout.
Yeah, sure. Marina Rodriguez had me scared because I did not think she won that fight. I did bet on Marina, so I'm very happy she did win, but I did not think she won that fight in real time.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was tied going into that third round, and I probably would have given it to Xiaonan.
There was a pretty great moment when they were both putting up the ones, like they both had won about like 30 seconds left in the fight. I was like, oh my God, like what is going on? The two of them put on a great show. That fight should have been on a main card over Spivak versus Hardy. No doubt in my mind on that. Considering that may have gotten Marina a title shot next.
Yeah.
So good news story. Moroz from the Ukraine really touched everyone's heart with her post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, talking about the issues that are going on with Russia, Ukraine. Started tearing up on the mic. Apparently didn't know English, but she learned enough English that she was able to give that entire speech.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. So I think she like basically Google translated it and then just started like memorizing the speech.
Yeah.
So I'm sure she had some English knowledge, but like I guess it was not good, which is why the translator was out there. And then early prelims, I think the only real story, Dustin Jacoby able to get a victory when he's a kickboxer and he had a injured leg, so he didn't throw any kicks.
I mean, I think there is another story on there, but
what's the other one?
Possibly a star being born. 14-0.
Oh wait, that was early prelims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the that was like the, I guess that was the last one of the early prelims. Was
early prelim, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Umar Nurmagomedov.
What a stud.
Contender for sure. He made it quick and easy over Brian Keller. Was that who?
Yep.
Yeah. Tim Elliott was the other one that we'll talk about a little bit, but yeah, Brian Keller, sorry you had to show up to work that day because I don't think anyone in the world was beating Umar during that day.
And he's what? He's feather, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that is correct. But just like all the rest of the Nurmagomedovs, they cut crazy amounts of weight. So that's always something I want to look for because as their body gets a little bit older, I'm not sure they're able to kind of cut that easy.
Yeah. So you want to know a stat that shows how dominant it was for Umar?
Yeah.
Kelleher had one total strike.
These are Kamzat type numbers. Yeah, I mean, like that was a good redeeming moment for Khabib because Ulanbekov loses in very dramatic fashion because Tim Elliott was definitely cheating by grabbing the inside of the glove. But the reason that that's so important, Khabib gets his first loss as a coach. Now, there's not much that I can say because that was a terrible fight because Ulanbekov would have won the fight had Tim Elliott not been cheating and grabbing the inside of his glove, making sure that he couldn't do anything. He was essentially just going on the inside of his glove, grabbing on, and then there was something to actually like grip. So didn't like the result of how he gets his first loss, but nonetheless, Khabib finally gets a loss on his record.
I mean, it was bound to happen eventually.
It definitely was. Probably would have happened if Islam would have fought RDA, to be honest, but that's a different story. And then the other thing that we really just have to talk about was the little surprise for Khabib. He had zero clue that it was about to happen, but Khabib Nurmagomedov is going to be the lone member, at least for individual fighters, to be joining the UFC class of 2022 Hall of Fame. Well deserved, I will say it. But where do we put him in the greatest of all time, chat?
I mean, I've kind of just gotten into it a little bit this last year or so. So I didn't really get to see Khabib much, but from what you're telling, from what I've heard from you and from you, is he was dominant, but his competition wasn't at like the level of what Usman's fighting right now, or what GSP fought,
Yeah.
or what
No,
John Jones fought.
I was going to say, we all know who me and Hunter definitely say is number one, and that is John Jones. Taking all of the personal conflicts out of this. But I will probably say he is right at the 5 spot, maybe the 4 spot, because I do think that Jones, GSP, and I'd probably throw Anderson Silva are still definitely above him.
Does that Nunez loss not throw her up in there?
Nunez probably would have been close, but I don't think I would have ever put her above Khabib. She's probably top 10, although the loss really does hurt her. But I mean, Usman is going to be right there too if this continues, if this never ends, especially if he beats a Khamzat Chimaev or he goes and becomes a double champ. But I don't see that happening unless Izzy switches divisions. There is a way for Usman to break that top 3. And very well could be number 1 when it's all said and done.
I mean, right now, I think Usman has the most challenging division in the UFC.
Now, I will say if
running through,
if John Jones goes and wins a heavyweight title, I don't think there's touching him. I don't think when you're light heavyweight and heavyweight champ, double champ, and the reason I don't put Cormier there is because he did lose to John Jones twice. He lost to Stipe twice. He did beat Stipe once, but there's quite a bit to be said there. Cormier probably could have had that resume had he at least beat Jones once.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much everything I want to talk about with UFC 272 now that it is in the books. I don't know when we'll see Masvidal next. Big rumors, Conor McGregor. I like the fight. I think Conor wins that fight.
Well, I think it's the perfect matchup for Conor because he just is going to get someone that's going to stand and bang with him.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about the reasoning that we keep bringing up the Poirier-Colby fight. So Colby versus Poirier, we believe, could very well be the first title fight for a brand new super lightweight division. That is now what I guess Eagle FC has been calling it. It's no longer a 165 catchweight. It is now called the super lightweight division. Welterweight division moves from 170 to 175. So what we did is we went through rankings. We did top 8s of who we think would be in this division. And then we'll kind of break it down. So Sam, if you want to start us off, who's your number 8?
My number 8, just because he's 1-2 in his last 3 fights. He's not very active anymore, but he is the boogeyman. Conor McGregor.
See, I have Tony Ferguson at this spot. And I mean, we didn't really say like who we definitely think will be there. I'm sure we're going to have guys that I have that I think would go to 165, and you probably have them staying at whatever division they're at. Now, if we did this as a Grand Prix, which is what the plan would be, this is the reason we did top 8. And we've seen how well it worked for Bellator. At number 8, who is Conor McGregor fighting at number 1?
I mean,
I think it's
He
going to
says that he weighs in at what, 177?
Yeah.
He only cut 7 pounds to fight at welterweight, and he's the second best welterweight in the world. I have Colby Covington.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Colby. So Colby versus Conor or Colby versus Tony Ferguson, those are two fights that would sell so well for the UFC, and I don't think anyone can tell you differently. Now, 2 versus 7, what would be that matchup for you?
For 7, I have RDA.
Okay, I have Nate Diaz. And then at 2, I'm guessing we both have the same guy again, and that is Dustin Poirier, who weighs more than Colby. So him going all the way down to 155, not great for the body. Give him 10 extra pounds. Let him maybe fight at the super lightweight division.
Yeah, I have Poirier right now at number 2. I mean, my number 2, if he would decide to move up, I mean, he cuts a whole lot of weight to get down to lightweight too, is Islam.
But I think we both agree that they want to stay at that lightweight division, and he wants to take that back over. I just don't have him going up.
Yeah, mine's just, I have him at 2 if he goes up. If not, I have Poirier.
And so now you have Poirier versus RDA, which would be a fun fight for the fans. Probably would be a good co-main somewhere. And then I have Poirier versus Nate Diaz, which again could easily headline an event.
Yeah.
So this division so far, we're 2 for 2 on entertaining fights. At number 3 and number 6, who do you have here?
Number 6, I have Fiziev.
Okay, this is where I have Conor.
And then my number 3 is Michael Chandler.
At number 3, I have Belal Muhammad. So this is where we don't have anything same. So my fight is Belal Muhammad versus Conor McGregor. Another fight that could easily headline something. For you, I just think Fiziev is not a big enough name. Chandler is, however, I think there's a lot of people that don't buy a pay-per-view for Chandler. So this could easily be a fight night main event. And that would still be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Fiziev was supposed to be in the co-main versus RDA before he got COVID.
And he was supposed to, and the two of them were supposed to headline an event just weeks before, but due to visa issues, he wasn't able to get in the country.
Yeah. So, I mean, I told you before, I think Fiziev would have beaten RDA. So that's why I have him ranked a little bit higher than him. And I think he looks like the type that would be able to put on about 10 pounds and still be good with that body type. So,
yeah.
And yeah, Chandler, he definitely looks like a guy that could, he looks like an absolute beast at 155.
Yeah, I feel like he needs to get this 165 division for himself. At 4 and 5, this is where I have Chandler and have RDA. So Chandler versus RDA, again, this is another fight I wouldn't put as a main event pay-per-view. I might put it on a main card of a pay-per-view, maybe not main event. Or this is an easy headliner of a fight night card.
Yeah, for me, I have Belal Muhammad and Tony Ferguson at 4-5.
That's another one. I mean, these are all entertaining fights.
Yeah, and then just imagine the matchups you could have after that. You could have even then, you're 1-8 with Tony Colby.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many options. And like, obviously there's going to be the names that the UFC wants to win. People are going to want Conor to win. People probably want Nate Diaz to win. Now, depending on who he would actually end up going against, Poirier Colby is the ultimate fight to make, which makes sense why they'd be 1 and 2, setting up what could be an amazing championship fight.
Yeah, I mean, that's easily a headliner right there. Even if they don't do that tournament, I think that's going to be for the 165 belt when it is announced. I think they're trying to set it up too much. I think they're setting it up. I think Colby afterwards, I mean, he obviously wants to fight Poirier, but Dana might have been saying, hey, we're thinking about this. Try calling him out, get a little bit more hype in it and be like, oh, International Fight Week, it's in July. I want to get back in there in July.
And I think it did a good job because I think that was all people wanted to talk about for the next 48 hours. And people seem to have a really good interest in it. There's a lot of people that actually do think Poirier could beat him. I am not one of those people just because of the wrestling alone. But I think it would make for an awesome fight. Maybe not International Fight Week, but there is going to be a second card in July. Imagine if that fight is taking place in Miami,
Yeah.
or if that fight is taking place at Boston or Atlanta, um, Denver. Like there's a ton of options. Chicago, Milwaukee, like these places need a great fight. Colby has fought in Chicago. He would get booed here. I'm not gonna lie to you. I would love it, but I want this to happen. I want this 165 division because Colby deserves to be a champion. And if he's not, then really Poirier does too.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the next, like, obviously there's rumors about a Poirier Nate Diaz fight going on at 170. So obviously Poirier is okay with going up in weight classes.
Yeah, and I mean Conor's fought 3 fights at 70. He's 2-1. So Conor, who looks absolutely jacked too, as long as he just stays off the drugs, he could easily do this 165.
Yeah.
So
I just think because I feel like lightweight and welterweight are both pretty stacked at this point.
that it wouldn't hurt anyone to split these things.
I mean, I think I have it, taking 5 from lightweight and 3 from welter.
Perfect. Yeah, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the news before we get into the other cards that are going to be happening this weekend. We officially have Khamzat versus Gilbert Burns. What a battle. And that's happening in a little less than a month now. So initial thoughts, who do you have winning? Who do you like? What are your thoughts originally?
I like it. It's the first real test Khamzat's going to have. I mean, we'll actually see if he is a true contender for this title. Like you said, Burns is the only other one like Colby that, even if it was just for a round, is given Usman a challenge.
Yeah, most definitely. I really like this fight for both guys. Winner, I actually say they both want to say like, oh, maybe winner should face Colby. I think the UFC is too smart, knows that Colby shouldn't take that loss to one of these two men, which is why 165 makes so much more sense. These guys could easily be fighting at 175, only 5 more pounds when they eventually go for the welterweight title. So I really like it for both guys. I think that this sets up what would be the number 1 contender fight for the welterweight division.
I think even if for some reason they don't do the 165, I still think this sets up a number 1 contender because I don't think you can have Usman fight, especially after Colby losing 2 straight to him, have that third fight for Usman or like the next fight for Usman be Colby. As much as I love Colby, I think there needs to be a fight in between.
Yeah, I mean, like we'll see what happens with this, but I think the fans are going to be treated. This is the 3rd fight on that card. So we still get 2 title fights and then this fight. So it's gonna be an awesome card down in Jacksonville. I'm excited to see what happens.
Same.
Cain Velasquez, outside of the octagon, denied bail in California. You now have UFC fighters calling it California. What are
I've seen there's a bunch, not even just UFC. I see a lot of athletes just being like free, like Cain did nothing wrong.
I heard that Derek Brunson raised $25,000 in like 48 hours to start paying for all these legal costs. So good for Derek Brunson, first off. But yeah, I mean, like it's not right that he's even in jail.
Yeah.
He didn't kill him, right? It was attempted.
Yeah, I think it was attempted. I mean, what do you expect though from California?
That
happens, and then they let other people do whatever they want. And
he did attempt to murder him.
Yeah.
But murdered for a good reason.
Yeah.
We already got into 2 pay-per-view events in July. Let's just go right into the UFC fight night. We also have Bellator to talk about, and we also have Eagle FC to talk about. So UFC fight night preview. What fights are on this card that you enjoy? What are you looking forward to?
Friend of the show. I think he was just added to this fight too on short notice. Yeah. The odds are dropping for it from when I last looked. Terrence McKinney versus Dober.
That's an awesome fight. I mean, Drew Dober's just barely not ranked too. So this could be a fight that breaks him either into the rankings or gets him a ranked fight next. He did
And
tell Ariel Helwani he wants to be ranked top 10, if not top 5, by the end of this calendar year.
his schedule's been insane since we had that interview with him.
He doesn't stop fighting, and it's awesome. And I'm very happy for him. I think that he's going to get this done. Even with it being short notice, I have no doubt in my mind. What are his odds currently at now?
So ESPN has it just because have the full fight card pulled up. Dober is a minus 170 favorite, and Terrence McKinney is plus 145. Last time I looked, I think Terrence was plus like 220.
Yeah, I was seeing it like plus 200. So that, like, depending on what book you go to. But oh my God, like that's a pretty crazy drop already.
That's almost a pick 'em.
Yeah, it's getting that way, and as it should be, because Terrence is no joke.
Yeah, and it looks like whoever can really get, if Dober can keep it up at like a stand-up fight, I do like his chances in this one. But if Terrence can take him to the ground with that wrestling background,
I don't know. I think even striking, Terrence is so fundamentally sound that I'm have no doubts in my mind. That is like the lock, I think, of this card.
Terrence.
Is Terrence McKinney, who's the first fight of the night.
No, that's
Did they switch it?
yeah, he is now he's the second fight on the main card.
Oh, good. Because originally they were saying that was gonna be a first fight. I was like, what? I mean,
Yep,
Drew
and
Dober's pretty good too. So
he's following up Pereira
so
in his
Pereira's
second
the other
UFC
one.
fight.
Pereira is gonna be a really good fight, but the fight that I want to talk about, shout out my boy Grant Senderak, his favorite fighter, Song Yadong. We've said his name many times on this show. He was the number one fighter under the age of 25 or younger. He is going to show that he's going to move up this rankings. Song Yadong could be a name that you watch out for, possibly fighting one day against Bryce Mitchell in a title fight. I think this is going to be a fun fight. I think Song's going to get done. I think he's minus 250 or something. So maybe you want to parlay Song Yadong and Terrence. But
Yeah.
oh my God, like Song Yadong, this is another test for him, and it's going to be another one that he passes with flying colors.
Yeah. So I was looking at this, or I was just looking at Marlon Morales' like his last couple fights. He is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. I feel like the UFC tried to set this up to get Song Yadong up against a bigger name a decently big name in the division, to where it sets up nicely for him, to where they can promote him even better. And, especially after that Marias fight last time out for Marias. If Yadong can pull this off, yeah, I like that Mitchell Yadong fight.
Also, yeah, I 100% agree. The thing that screws Song is that he doesn't speak English, I don't think really at all. Which I mean is okay, but hurts when you're trying to make a bunch of fans in the US.
Yeah.
The other fight, I mean, I think Alex Pereira is going to win this fight. That's really all I got to say about it. I think they're really trying to get him up to speed so he can fight Izzy, because that was one of Izzy's kickboxing losses.
Yeah.
So I do think that that's a thing. AJ Fletcher is a Dana White Contender Series alumni, trains and I believe is friends with Dustin Poirier. He, I believe, is the featured fight on the prelims. Yep. Plus 175. So expect Dustin Poirier to be in the arena and guarantee that he'll step in front of the stage, and they will have some questions for him about Colby Covington. So that's the reason that I wanted to bring that fight up. Really, it's not because of AJ Fletcher, and I'm sorry to AJ for that, but because of everything that's gone down this last week or so. And then the main event, the guy that I said could end up taking the lightweight division or light heavyweight division, Ankalaev taking on Thiago Santos. Ankalaev is the Russian light heavyweight that looks like he is Khabib.
Yeah.
So expect this fight to get to the ground. I honestly expect a submission. I'll probably just bet Ankalaev and throw him on that parlay as well. So my official parlay is going to be Ankalaev, Song Yadong, and Terrence McKinney. should get good odds. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I would probably anticipate that to be right around plus 300.
Yeah, Ankalaev, according to ESPN, is a massive favorite. He
Yeah,
is
there's no
minus
reason to bet him straight
550.
up. If you're gonna bet him straight up, maybe bet him to win inside distance. Maybe like that could be a decent bet because it is 5 rounds. But yeah, no, he's gonna get this win. He's not the one that you'd have to worry about on that parlay. And honestly, I'm not worried about any 3 of them.
Yeah.
So that's what we got for UFC not 270. UFC Fight Night, Santos versus Ankalaev.
Is that the first one that's out of the Apex?
No, this one is in the Apex. Next week they go to London.
Okay.
And then it's Columbus. And then I believe then it's UFC 273. And then I don't know what they're doing with the next one. I hope it's not at the Apex.
Yeah, I feel like getting fans back in there for a non-pay-per-view. Things are only moving up for the UFC at this point.
They are setting more records than they know what to do with.
The one thing I do want to see is that pay-per-view number from last weekend.
As do I. I actually think it did well, even after we said that it might not have. Bellator 276 is this weekend. What fights, if any, are you kind of really excited for?
I'm just kind of looking at the card real quick now.
So it's a main and co-main event, which really doesn't happen much in Bellator. But 2 fun fights. Neither of them are championship fights, but that's okay. Fight before that, though, I do want to highlight Cody Law. Cody Law is someone that we got to watch out for. He is on the prelims. He is, I believe, the 4th fight of the night. He's taking on James Adcock, which I really don't know much about James Adcock. It's hard to follow all the Bellator fighters because a lot of them don't get the publicity that the UFC does. But Cody Law is someone that you're going to want to watch. I believe he is currently still ranked if he didn't get dropped out. But he's someone that could end up kind of taking over the featherweight division in Bellator.
Wait, something to add just before or after. So did you hear about Kayla Harrison?
Yes. Kayla Harrison re-signing with PFL.
Well, not re-signing. They matched her offer from Bellator.
Well, but then she re-signs.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, they had the opportunity to match whatever Bellator, because Bellator was the ones that were going to sign her, but then PFL matched that offer, and I think contractually, like, she had to go with them then.
Now, there is rumor that PFL knows that they need to get more exposure and that they are trying to plan a Bellator versus PFL event with Scott Coker. I really don't know what the president of PFL's name is. It's just not big enough. But that could be a PFL versus Bellator event, which on pay-per-view would be very cool.
And I think the main event of that would be
Cyborg
Kayla Harrison versus Cyborg.
Yeah, and I can't see how anyone would hate that. So,
but yeah, sorry, just wanted to add that in real quick.
All good. That's worth mentioning. I can't believe we forgot about it.
You were talking about Cody Law.
Yeah, I mean, Cody Law's going to take over the featherweight division, so just make sure you don't miss that fight. Anything else on there kind of that you want to talk about? If you want to see someone that Ben Parrish has beaten in the past, watch Alex Polizzi in a featured prelim fight.
Yeah, none of the names. I'm sorry, I don't know very many names in Bellator.
That's all right. I mean, not many people do, which is kind of cool that they have so much respect for us.
Yeah.
Phil Davis, he's a UFC alumni. He most recently beat Yoel Romero in his debut. He is going to be in the co-main in the light heavyweight division on the main card, as well as Mads Burnell, another former UFC fighter, taking on youngster Adam Borix in the featherweight division on the main card, main event this Saturday. I'm probably going to take Burnell and Davis. I haven't been able to look at the odds. I know they weren't uploaded earlier on in the week. I'm not sure if they have yet been. I would assume with it being a Thursday night, they have been. I just haven't looked. So really all that's worth noting there. And then Eagle FC Miami this weekend. We have a fun matchup between Kevin Lee and Diego Sanchez. Sam, have you seen any of the coverage for this?
The only thing I saw was Diego Sanchez getting up in Kevin Lee's face at the presser.
Did you see him just start screaming for no reason?
No, I think I missed that part.
So when they did their face off, he like tried to look like he was absolutely jacked, like just going in there like this, and then just screaming like a madman. Like Diego Sanchez needs mental help. This fight should not be happening. I'm sorry, Diego Sanchez should not be fighting anymore. It's a terrible move for Eagle FC if they want to continue to make it.
I mean, he's a big enough name, and if Kevin Lee can beat him.
They did sign a lot of former UFC fighters like this week. I believe even today.
I mean, it's probably to get a name, just to use the name, and to try and set him up against guys that they can build around then.
The biggest name that they signed was Junior Dos Santos.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely signed names. However, can those names still fight? It's going to be the question. Ray Borg is fighting again, so I wonder if he's just going to fight on literally every Eagle FC card that's in America. Yeah, I mean, I think this fight could end up being make or break for Eagle FC viewership, if I'm being 100% honest.
I mean, their last card, the main event was kind of boring for it, but there was a couple other ones on the card. I thought Rashad Evans fight was
okay. Yeah.
Okay, except for his pants falling down.
Yeah, that was weird. Like they didn't try to size him or anything, but whatever.
And then Ray Borg's fight was pretty good too.
Yeah, I mean, I have no complaints. Anything else that you want to talk about in the world of MMA?
Not really. Just I just hope that that 165 division is made.
Me too. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Now, if you guys are watching on YouTube, and actually, I guess if you're listening on any platform, it's going to be the same in the description. Go to The Swap, one of our newest partners, who's a multimedia company in the cryptocurrency universe. They are running a March Madness bracket. So obviously the brackets have not come out yet for any of you college basketball fans. However, it's a free to enter bracket as long as you join their Discord. And then when you join their Discord and you join this bracket, if you come, I believe it's top 20, don't quote me on that one, you actually could win an NFT. They have teamed up with a bunch of NFT collections and are ready to give them away to the top so many participants in the March Madness brackets. I believe you're only allowed one bracket per person. So join, make sure that you have your best picks in. Again, free to play. You just got to join the Swap Discord. Link is in the bio. And then also another shout out, MGM Resorts. BetMGM is now live in the state of Illinois. So I have only been using BetMGM. MGM Resorts is where we were able to stay when we were just in Vegas. We are hoping that they expand to more states across the United States. But if not, then make your Vegas getaway next time you go at an MGM resort. Okay, if you're gambling, gamble responsibly. We are not responsible for your winnings or losings. If you have a problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or go visit your state's website to make sure that you guys are not abusing gambling in general, because we all know someone that has probably abused that privilege. All right, that was a lot. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. If you guys like NFL, please listen to our First and Goal podcast. Major League Baseball is back. Pinch Hitters is recording a new podcast tomorrow, so they will have a new episode out by Monday, covering everything that you need to know, including all the free agents that get signed over the next couple of days. So go over there. This has been Sam and Jacob. Hunter was not able to join, but we will see you guys again next week. Peace.
Yep. See ya.